Renovating a 5-inch gauge sweep-piece steam locomotive. Part 2. The first job shows the removal of the hand pump, which does not work. It is quite small and used as a secondary boiler water feed in case the injector fails. I repair the pump and show it in detail, explaining how it should work and the reason for it not doing so. I straighten the bent operating links and repaint the parts. The job begins by removing the water supply to the pump, and I was surprised to find that in the tank was some water, and that must have been in there a long time. Or at least I assume so, because the boiler certificate expired in 2018. Now I have a situation where water is running everywhere, so very quickly I replace the pipe to stop the water running everywhere and look for a suitable receptacle so I can drain the tank. As there was some water in the tank, I thought I would take this opportunity to see why the pump wasn't working. The main problem, which is common, are the ball valves sticking, so using my small blowtorch I heat up the parts. But all this was to no avail. The pump refused to work. I drained the water into a small plastic dish and removed the pump entirely. I'd like to add once it had cooled. I've removed the top cap and the bottom fitting and the two balls. You can see them in the red plastic box. The top cap is specially shaped to be a ball travel limiter. The inlet pipe is threaded all the way so you can adjust the height of the ball by tightening a lock nut. This is a bit unusual and is possibly why it's not working. If this bottom fitting is screwed too far in, then the inlet ball can't move properly, and that would give the symptoms that I've been having with the pump. I think some violence is required. I'm using a hammer to straighten both of the links that were very badly bent. And I really don't know why this is, unless it's a previous attempt to repair the pump, but it didn't work anyway. To be honest, I could have left the links bent, I just didn't think they looked very good. What I'm going to do after I've straightened them is prime them with etch primer and paint them black. The paint is badly damaged on all areas of the pump, so it's into a pot of cellulose thinners. Shortly after immersion in the cellulose thinners, I'm just checking how well the paint is stuck to the pump. You can get problems with cellulose thinners not dissolving paint if over a period the paint has been permanently baked in place, if the paint was on an item that always ran hot, but in this case this is a water pump. After a short while, with some help from a small paintbrush, all of the paint fell off the pump, apart from some that was stubborn, and I removed this as well as some tarnish with one of these rotary scourers. I like these. The secret is not to run them too fast, otherwise you get showered in little nylon particles, but it's better than being showered in pieces of stainless steel. That's really painful. I've stopped using the wire brushes for this kind of a job where possible. In no time at all, the pump body is cleaned up sufficiently and ready for a first coat of etch primer. I'm actually painting in an improvised spray booth on the kitchen table. And what is the improvised spray booth? It's quite simple. It's a very large cardboard box, and all the paint is contained within the box and doesn't go all over the kitchen. The last time I painted something on the kitchen table, my table was green for quite a while. And before the green, the table was grey with the etch primer. It wiped off with some cellulose thinners. Thankfully, it's not a really good table anyway. So I could paint these links in one go. I hung them from the top of the cardboard box using a piece of welding wire. Now before I do anything else with these parts, I need the paint to be thoroughly dry. So I thought it would be a good idea to clean up one of the rusty buffers. Very easy, one bolt holds it in against a spring, and now it's in my hand. I cleaned it up in the Myford lathe, a very quick and simple job, using 400 grade wet-to-dry sandpaper followed by Scotch-Brite. And now it looks like this. It's not perfect, but I don't want this engine to look perfect. I want the engine to show its age a little bit. I found this piece of gauze around the blast pipe, and this is a very good idea for stopping ash flying out of the chimney. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't like things like this, newfangled ideas. If I wanted a spark arrestor, I would fit it to the chimney. Although in retrospect it is a good idea, I don't know how it affects the drafting of the engine though. So I dispense with it in the bin. I sprayed the top coat of paint, which is LMS Crimson Lake, or at least HMG Paint's version of Crimson Lake. This clip was filmed the day after I sprayed the etch primer on the parts. This is the pump ram, and it's fitted with a neoprene O-ring so I can use ordinary lubricating oil. The final part to clean up on this pump is the handle, and once again I'm using the rotary scourer. These are really good. They don't scratch the metal very much, nor do they polish it. It just gives a really nice clean sheen to the part. If you're building or repairing a Sweet Pea locomotive, I recommend this book. It is a book from a company called T Publications. It was written by the man who designed the Sweet Pea, Mr. Jack Buckler. It's available from Blackgates Engineering and contains everything that you need if you're building or working on one of these things. Blackgates Engineering details are on screen at the moment. I skipped the reassembly part of this pump. Suffice to say, I put it back together, which was the reverse of taking it apart. The only difference in the pump now is the bottom fitting isn't screwed quite as far in, so the ball can move in there. The following diagram was created using a method called CAD, Keith Appleton Dreadful Drawing, but you should be able to figure out how this pump works if you look at the drawing for long enough. Basically, the piston creates a suction and a compression. The suction lifts the bottom ball off the seat, admitting the water to the chamber, and when the piston returns, the bottom ball is firmly down on the seat and the top ball lifts to let the water out to the boiler's check valve. When I looked in the book, the drawing shows a limiter screw to limit the travel of the lower ball, but there isn't one fitted on this pump. I just made sure that the ball's seat was further down. I tested it using an extension pipe on the inlet into a tub of water, and as you can see, it seems to work perfectly well. All I need to do now is bolt it in place on the mounting bracket, and that is it. I'm not going to be piping it up yet. I'm possibly going to modify the piping. To finish, here is the before shot when the pump looks a bit poor really, and now it looks much better. That's it for this episode. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.